Hello everyone, this is Game Art with another box and another offline product game review. This is The Last of Us Remake, Part 1 for the PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here is just the base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0. Now sadly there was a pretty good size update. This update size was 25.4 gigabytes big and will take you to version 1.03 since the time I get this video. Now, like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I didn't experience any massive game-breaking bugs or issues. The game worked relatively perfectly well from beginning to end, with some little minor oddities, but nothing to write home about. And as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now, I have no idea what this 25.4 gigabytes update is really fixing because there was little to no problems whatsoever. I played the entire campaign as well as the expansion DLC Left Behind, and I didn't experience any game-breaking bugs or problems. The game ran perfectly on performance mode at 60 frames per second, and there was no frame rate problems or anything. The only thing that was noteworthy was that there was some graphical bugs, like certain objects or stuff like that at a distance wasn't fully loaded up or didn't load up at all, and then they immediately pop in and load it up. So basically describe it as pop-in, but there's also some minor animation little issues in certain moments where things are clipping into stuff and everything. It was just little oddities here and there. Nothing that ruined the experience or interrupted the immersion. The other one that was odd was that there was a times the screen flickered, where it happened 2 or 3 times where I flipped my camera to look at something real quick, and then since I did that, the game kind of flickered with a bright white screen and immediately refixed itself. It was instantaneous, and it's just very disorienting when it happened, but luckily it wasn't during the heat of battle or anything like that. It was mostly when I was just walking around and I was like, oh, I forgot this, and I turned around and immediately there was a quick flicker, and that was about it. It happened 2 or 3 times if I recall. Not a big issue, but that was the only one. It was wow, okay, that was disruptive, if I guess you can call it. Not a big deal or anything like that. As well, there were some odd animations at certain moments, like Joel was supposed to do a certain animation and he kind of didn't do it or didn't do the proper animation. Reloading a certain gun, he did a different animation than what was the animation should have been for that kind of weaponry, and just certain other things Ellie was supposed to pick up some paper or something like that, and she didn't pick it up right, and the paper was off to an angle, and her hand wasn't even nowhere near the paper, but the paper was just floating, oddities like that. Nothing that was wow, okay, this is immersion breaking. It's just little silly moments, but that is about it. So just certain things that even if the game was 100% polished, those things can still pop up in terms of graphical bugs or animation issues. So overall, relatively good. It was pretty impressive to see this game work beginning to end, and especially with a 25.4 gigabyte update, I can't imagine what they're fixing. So this has obviously got to be some more added content or something like that. I don't know. I didn't download it because I'm not downloading no 25 gigabyte update. But it was very interesting to see this ginormous size update. But as I said, I play all my games without no updating or anything like that, and that update is not required whatsoever. Now, this remake only comes with the base campaign of the original story as well as the expansion DLC Left Behind. There is no multiplayer or anything like that, or any really added modes or anything. So it's very disappointing to see that nothing was really included compared to the first release version on PS3, or if you want to look at the PS4 version, which did come with the Left Behind DLC, as well as the multiplayer. And so that was very, very disappointing. While the game graphically is gorgeous, there are certain moments the game is very impressive to look at, but I am not a stickler for graphics, so it really didn't mean much to me. So if you ask me, I would rather have the graphics to be reduced so I can get more content. Also, I want to include about the DLC content on disc. If you look at the managed game content, you will see languages. Those languages, you'll be able to pick it and to install it. Now, this does not, it might sound like downloading, but it does not download it. You do not need the internet. It just installs it from the disc. It just reduces the size and maybe installs the one that's your default language from your console. So if you want French, just click on the French and it'll install it from the disc. There is no downloading. Now, this is the first time I've actually covered a Naughty Dog game or anything like that for quite a while on this channel, and there's very many reasons for this, and that is that I am not a big fan of Naughty Dog. I'm going to put the cards on the table. I have not liked any Naughty Dog games since Jak and Daxter, the first one. After Jak 2, I lost all respect for the studio. I don't really like Uncharted series, and I didn't really get into The Last of Us when I first played it on PlayStation 3. So this was the first time I ever came back to the game in a very long time. I did play the PS4 version, but that was like a long time. I kind of just speed run through the game, so I barely even remember doing it. But I just didn't really get into this game. I think the game has some neat graphics and the animations and the voice acting and stuff like that, and personalities are decent, though I am not a big fan of Ellie. When I first played the game, Ellie really annoyed me. I personally despised Ellie. But coming back to the game, the second time like this, because I won't really count the PS4 time, because that was a speed run basically through the game. But this time, she didn't really irritate me as much, but I still don't like her. I still don't really find her as an interesting or engaging character. I liked all other characters. I like Joel, I like Bill, I like Tess, and among all the other characters as well. And just something about Ellie just doesn't mesh with me. I really don't enjoy her. I do admit, she is better than the character, the boy from God of War 2018. I will admit that she is a little better than the boy, but not by much. And I have no. It was more irritation because this character was irritating the entire time, and I just don't really find any other aspects of the game really engaging. While the gameplay is fun, and don't get me wrong, they really did a good job. It feels very gritty, down to the ground, and every fight is fight for survival. The only problem is there's just not enough of it. There's these long-winded moments in the game where you're walking around slowly, listening to the dialogue exchange, picking up resources, and then you come across these little skirmishes of battles, and then you're back to walking slowly, doing conversations bits. I don't mind a little bit of it, but there's just too much of that in The Last of Us, the first one here. I've never played the second one, so I have no comparisons to the second one. But the problem is that you spend all these resources and upgradings and content that I don't really get to appreciate all the work and resource upgradings and stuff like that in the game because there's not enough combat in the game. Example, I played the game on hard. Now, granted, maybe if I played it on higher difficulties, my experience could vary. But on hard difficulty, I constantly had maxed out resources. Constantly had plenty of ammo and stuff like that because there was just not enough combat in the game. And just because I didn't have no reason to burn out my resources because I could usually stealth combat or something like that to save resources. There's just not enough game to this game. Now, granted, yes, the graphics, the atmosphere, if you like the characters, they're all really there. If you're really for a story-driven experience, this is right up your alley. But if you're looking for a gameplay experience, the game falls flat really hard. It's really good gameplay. What little there is very well done, but there's not enough of it. And I don't know, it never really meshed well with me. I like the idea, I like the concept of the realistic version of zombies with this fungus and stuff like that, which is a really real thing that happens to ants. There's a fungus that affects ants and mind controls them and turns them into a fungus spreading spore kind of thing. It's very fascinating. There's on the Animal Planet or Discovery Channel, whatever. But so it was very interesting to take that idea and turn it into a human form, and I guess it's very well possible this could happen in real life. Unlikely, but it's just an interesting concept. But I don't know. I never really got into The Last of Us. Maybe my bitterness of Naughty Dog, because I personally do believe Naughty Dog is probably one of Sony's worst studios. This is my personal opinion. I don't like Naughty Dog. Their writing is very generic. Their gameplay is very subpar. And ever since Jak and Daxter, the first one, they have not put really much effort in trying to actually create games. I don't know. I know it's going to upset some people, but I'm not impressed by Naughty Dog. Everyone talks about graphics, and again, I don't care about graphics. They mean nothing to me. So, I don't know. It's not for me. And, there is a worse studio. I do believe Political Digital is Sony's worst studio, but Naughty Dog's easily in second place on that. But, at the end of the day, this is still a phenomenal physical copy. It still worked and played great. Sadly, there's no multiplayer, which is a huge bummer because I actually remember playing the multiplayer on PlayStation 3, and I actually really enjoyed the multiplayer, even though I don't really like PvP. I don't play PvP or anything like that. But I do remember playing it, and I actually feel like the game was really good because it felt very survival-esque in its gameplay. So, in the end, it's a phenomenal physical copy. Is it worth the full price? Like, they were asking like $70? No, it's nowhere near worth that. But it's still worth a pickup. It's still a complete package of both the expansion as well as the base game. The game plays smoothly with little to no problems. And what little gameplay there is in The Last of Us 1 is a very sweet and enjoyable experience. There's just not enough of it, and that's just its downfall. But that's usually kind of all on Naughty Dog's games since Jak and Daxter 1. Just no substance in their gameplay, and I know that's gonna really irritate people. But man, I am trying to be super nice to Naughty Dog right now because like I've actually rehearsed this multiple times so I didn't go into a rant about how much I hate Naughty Dog. And just their gameplay and design and just story writing, how I just not into it. So like always, thank you all so much for watching. I will try to provide links down in the description. Is it worth a pickup? Yeah, it's worth a pickup. Yeah, so if you can get it relatively cheap or at a used copy, there is the PS4 version, which I still kind of recommend that one because that does have the multiplayer on the disc, which I think is still alive and playable right now. Don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure, but both of them are good. You're buying this for more of the graphical enhancements if that's something you care about. So like always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye bye.